Hi, I'm Judge Liz and welcome to my channel. For those of you who are new here, you may recognize me as I presided over one of the most notorious cases of the death penalty in United States history. After that trial, I retired and went into private practice. And now on my channel, I go over all the most salacious cases, the ones that you're most interested in, and the ones that have the hottest topics. I try to give you a point of view that you can't get anywhere else. So welcome and stay tuned. Today's episode is going to be very exciting and something a little bit different. I'm going to present to you, as if I were Justin Baldoni's lawyer, all the most damning evidence against Blake Lively as a lawyer would present it to you at trial. I'm going to tell you what witnesses I would call, in some circumstances what the witness would say, and then what evidence and testimony, both oral and visual, that I would be presenting. I'm going to show you videos, I'm going to show you text messages, and I'm going to show you just exactly how I would bury Blake Lively at trial if I were representing Justin Baldoni. As an attorney, especially a trial attorney, strategy is one of the most important things that you have to come up with. If I'm representing Justin Baldoni, my strategy is going to be as follows. I'm going to put on my strongest witness at the very beginning, my strongest evidence at the beginning, so that it's fresh in the jury's mind and they automatically start to believe that my client is going to win. How am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to address it one allegation at a time, and I'm going to refute one allegation at a time. The first allegation I'm going to refute, and likely it's going to be by calling Miss Lively to the stand, is as follows. On an occasion, Mr. Baldoni and Miss Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but did not act in character as Ryle. Instead, he spoke to Miss Lively out of character as himself. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck as he said, "It smells so good." None of this was remotely in character or based on any dialogue in the script, and nothing needed to be said because, again, there was no sound. Mr. Baldoni was caressing Miss Lively with his mouth in a way that had nothing to do with their roles. When Miss Lively later objected to this behavior, Mr. Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you." Now, how am I going to refute this allegation, which, by the way, I took directly word for word from Miss Lively's complaint? The first way I'm going to do it is I'm going to call Miss Lively to the stand, and I'm going to show the following video.
Ryan, cross again where you were.
Can we do a score? Can we do a score? Couple scores?
And
While we're...
Yeah.
Great.
they score! They score again!
We have no issue talking most of the time.
Yeah, he was what did they say?
I'm not gonna know. It's not an issue. I'm never gonna find out.
And they win!
Oh my gosh, we don't shut up.
And Emily and I have we have these moments where
Staring. You just stare.
literally we've done it for 5 minutes. it's like, I think you would find it terrifying. We just literally look at each other and
When I
time
found a sociopath.
and time stops.
Yeah.
But that's just how it's been for us from the beginning.
No, we're like, oh my god, there's not enough time. I think to talk.
And they score again.
No.
Again.
It's like, oh my god, I
Again.
forgot to tell you something else.
Keep scoring.
No, I think that's cute. You guys are really cute.
I think it's more than cute.
They won the Stanley Cup.
I think it's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
They score another.
I'm not getting beard on you today.
I'm probably getting spray tan on you.
It smells good.
Well, it's not that. It's my body makeup.
And they win. They won.
All right, cut.
Now, after the jury reviews the real version of the dance scene and not the one described in Miss Lively's complaint, there's a couple of things I could do. I could just say, I have no further questions and sit down because I think the video speaks for itself. Or I could highlight the inconsistencies and really outright untruthfulness of the allegations that Miss Lively makes. First of all, there was sound. Obviously, she didn't realize that, but there was sound, as you can clearly hear in the video. And then I would drill Miss Lively with questions of, isn't it true that Mr. Baldoni was not the only one acting out of character? Isn't it true that you also acted out of character? Isn't it true that you were commenting to him, that you were talking to him, that you were talking about the way you smell and how you go tanning, and on and on and on. And I think that this evidence, in conjunction with her testimony, would be very powerful, and I think it would start to dig the grave of Miss Lively at trial. The second piece of evidence that I would present to the jury would also be through the witness, Miss Lively. And that's the evidence of Miss Lively's interview to Forbes magazine, where she admits that it is her goal to have more creative control and power of every movie she's hired on. She goes so far as to say that when she's being interviewed, she portrays this sort of meager person who only says, oh, I understand my role is going to be hired as an actress. But then she goes on to try to gain creative control of the movie. Watch this.
I would show up on a set. I knew that they just wanted me to show up and look cute and stand on a little pink sticker where I'm supposed to go and say what I'm supposed to say. But I also knew that that wasn't fulfilling for me, that I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, in the costume design, in creating the character. And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that and invite that once they saw that I was able to offer that. And sometimes I would have people who really resented that because they were like, we just hired you to be an actor. Yet when I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled. So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're like, you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do. And so it was a really strange position to be in because I felt like I don't want to just be an actor. I want to have more authorship. So I think that it's about knowing what I want and what I need and representing that from the outset.
Now again, I think this evidence speaks for itself. So there's one of two strategies I could take as a lawyer for Mr. Baldoni after showing the jury this evidence. One is I don't have any further questions, and I can sit down. The other is that I can cross-examine Miss Lively, and I can say to her, the allegations that my client is making against you and what my client believes is that you brought forth these accusations because Mr. Baldoni would not let you take control of his movie. Isn't it true that you did try to gain control of his movie? Presumably she would say, no, that's not true. And I would say, but you said on this Forbes interview that is your goal, that is your MO, that is your thing, that's what you do. Isn't it true that that's what you said? And she would have to concede yes. If she said no, it would make her look untruthful. Now at this point, presumably Ms. Lively is going to deny the allegation that she tried to take creative control of the movie. She's going to say, no, I didn't do that. I'm just very experienced. And, I tried to, add a few pointers here and there, but by no means did I try to take control. And so I'm going to start to hammer her with the evidence, and I'm going to do it as follows. I'm going to say, Miss Lively, isn't it true that the rooftop scene was written and that you insisted upon a rewrite? And presumably she's going to say, no, I didn't insist on it. I just was making some suggestions. And then I'm going to say, isn't it true that when Mr. Baldoni tried to tell you that he would take some of your suggestions into account, but that the scene was going to remain primarily as written, that you would not take that explanation and live with it, that you kept pushing? And she's going to presumably say, no, I didn't keep pushing, or I just thought mine was better and I just really thought he should consider it. And then I'm going to say, isn't it true you tried to use your power and influence to bully Mr. Baldoni into using your rewrite because you wanted to take control of the movie? Presumably she's going to say no. And then I would bring to her attention the fact that both her husband Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift, the most infamous pop star in the entire world, was present, and neither one of them should have anything to do with business on It Ends With Us. She would say that was just a coincidence, and then I would go on to present her with the text message as follows. After the meeting, Mr. Baldoni texts Miss Lively. I was working on the rooftop scene today and I really love what you did. It really does help a lot, makes it so much more fun and interesting. And I would have felt that way without Ryan and Taylor. Smiley face. You really are a talent across the board, and I'm excited and grateful to do this together. Miss Lively responds, that's very much appreciated and it means a lot. I'm deeply inspired by the film we're going to make outside of the success of this book. As for Ryan and Taylor, for that matter, I'm the luckiest MF on the planet to have them as my, quote, dance mom level stage moms. They are embarrassingly effusive. That said, they are also my most trusted partners and the people I go to first with anything creative I touch. And I'm the person that they go to first. That reciprocal creativity and support has been one of my life's greatest and most fulfilling gifts. When they loved and signed off on the pages, it felt good to send them to you. Now, that's not the whole text message. It goes on, but those snippets of the text messages right there prove that Blake had Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift at her apartment for a reason. She was pressuring Justin Baldoni to sign off on her changes, saying that Ryan and Taylor approved of them, that they liked them better than the originals, and that they were her, quote, dance moms, stage moms. And we all know what that means. Everyone's heard of the mama bear where, you go after my kid and I'm going to basically claw you to death. Well, she's making that analogy that that's who they are to her. They're her dance moms, stage moms. They're going to protect her until death. It's very obvious that she's trying to use her position of power, her husband's position of power, and Blake Lively's position of power to take control over this film. Now, Miss Lively is obviously going to deny this. She's going to try to explain it away. And when she does that, I'm going to confront her with the following. Miss Lively, isn't it true that you admitted on camera that your husband Ryan Reynolds wrote the rooftop scene? And then I'm going to show this video.
The iconic rooftop scene in this movie, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but you know. But he wrote it. He works on everything I do. I work on everything he does. So his wins, his celebrations are mine, and mine are his. I mean, he's all over this film.
Now, once Miss Lively is confronted with the video of this scene that I've just described, where she gives an interview to E! Entertainment on the red carpet, before I had told you, sometimes there's a strategy where you can say, I have no further questions, because the evidence is so compelling, and sometimes you ask more questions to sort of drive your point home. As an attorney, my strategy in this case would be, she denies that she tried to take control. She denies that she used Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift to bully Mr. Baldoni and to use an imbalance of power to her advantage. But guess what? I'm going to show this video, and there's absolutely nothing she can say to refute it. So at the end of this video, I'm going to end my questioning on this topic, and I'm going to move on to something else. I would next confront Miss Lively with a second text message exchange that she had with Mr. Baldoni, and I would again confront her with the fact that her complaint was that references to genitalia were being made by Mr. Baldoni and other male counterparts of the crew, and that she was extremely uncomfortable with them, and that she felt this was sexual harassment, and she didn't like it. But yet she herself makes references to genitalia spontaneously, without being asked, without being forced to, on her own. And I would do this to try to discredit her, to show that she is not uncomfortable with this kind of men's locker room talk. She initiates men's locker room talk. And I would read to her the following text exchange. I would say, Ms. Lively, isn't it true that you had the following text exchange with Mr. Baldoni? And I would read as follows. In May of 2023, Mr. Baldoni texts you, I'm not going to tell you that you were amazing because you teased me for being sentimental, but you were amazing today. And your response was, thank you. I do appreciate it. I'm just a ball buster, but it means a lot to me. I care a great deal and always want to deliver. I would now ask her, do you agree that a BALL buster is a reference to a man's genitals? You are referencing the genitals of Mr. Baldoni and describing how you like to bust them. It is a common locker room talk with men when they discuss, oh, this woman was busting my bees, or stop busting my bees, or, you know, it's a common reference that men make about women who are tough, who are, you know, giving it to them, who are talking back and sort of feisty. But he's not the one that's saying it. She's the one that's saying that. I would end on this, and I'd move on to my next witness, which I'm going to do right now. Talia Spencer. She is the crew member who recently gave an interview to 60 Minutes Australia, and I would have her testify as follows. Watch this video.
I find it very hard to believe the allegations against him. And considering his mission statement about the film and him genuinely pitching that he was doing this film to help young women, I just find it hard to believe the allegations, to be honest.
As a woman yourself, did you ever feel uncomfortable at all in your dealings with Justin?
No, not at all. I would say I felt more comfortable being around Justin than a lot of film directors in my experience. Maybe Blake smelled his kindness, mistook it for weakness, and tried to take advantage and take power, so yeah.
So you believe Blake Lively wrestled control of the film?
I think she tried to, yes.
Did she succeed in the end?
Probably, yeah. I think that there was a massive compromise in terms of Justin's original vision for the film.
Now, I would obviously have Miss Spencer go into greater detail, explain more, but you can see from this video the theme of her testimony, what it would be, and it directly contradicts the allegations of Blake Lively, so I think she would be an excellent witness for Mr. Baldoni. Now, finally, because this is a sort of an abbreviated version of what Mr. Baldoni's lawyers will be in presenting his case, I would call to the stand the next witness. Adam Monshine would be called to refute the following allegation by Ms. Lively about the birthing scene. That allegation includes the following. During the birthing scene, Ms. Lively was mostly nude with her legs spread wide in stirrups and only a small piece of fabric covering her genitalia. Further, it is alleged that Ms. Lively became even more alarmed when Mr. Baldoni introduced his, quote, best friend to play the role of the OBGYN when ordinarily a small role of this nature would be filled by a local actor. Ms. Lively felt the selection of Mr. Baldoni's friend for this intimate role, in which the actor's face and hands were in close proximity to her nearly nude genitalia for a birth scene, was both invasive and humiliating. Now, some of you may or may not know that Mr. Adam Monshine recently gave an interview to Page 6, and I am going to quote for you, I'm going to read for you the exact quotes from that interview, so that when I, as Mr. Baldoni's attorney, call Mr. Monshine to the stand, he would testify presumably as follows, and again, I'm reading from his interview. Mr. Monshine would testify as follows. I'm not going to speculate as to Miss Lively's motivations for mentioning me in the complaint. Needless to say, my experience working with her is very different than the one she described in her lawsuit. Indeed, I was surprised to read her description of the scene. In particular, she was not nearly nude in the scene we shot together. Her costume included a full hospital gown, black shorts, and a torso-covering prosthetic to make her appear pregnant, in addition to whatever personal garments she chose to wear. She never complained or expressed discomfort at any point because nothing unusual or improper occurred. It was entirely professional. Miss Lively's insinuations regarding my qualifications are offensive, as my bona fides are easily searchable online. And lastly, I was in fact a local hire. My wife and I are from New York and spend significant time there. As such, I, like any actor accepting that contract, was required to recover my own travel and living expenses in connection with the job. And on that note, Mr. Baldoni is going to rest his case for today, and we're going to wrap this video up. I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know if there are any other questions you asked, if you agree or disagree with the way I analyzed the testimony and evidence that I presented in this episode. I'd also love if you would follow me, subscribe to my channel, and support my channel so that I can continue making these types of videos. I try to not only respond to the comments, but I really do take them into consideration and what I decide to make as my next videos. So please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know your suggestions. And I hope you come back next time on Judge Liz. Thanks for joining us.